Everyone has experienced it at least once. The warm feeling of being someone's whole world. Someone calls you only when they are lost. Someone returns only when they are hurting. And you open the door every single time because it feels like love. But what if it was never really love at all? What if it was only need? This story is about something most people never stop to question. We were taught that love means sacrifice. We were told that staying and giving is strength. But sometimes the most important thing a person can learn is the quiet difference between being loved and simply being used, slowly, softly, and often by someone who truly believes they love you. Let me tell you about a woman named Mara. Mara lived in a small village between two hills where the road curved just enough that you could not see what was coming until it was already right in front of you. She was not wealthy and she was not famous, but everyone in the village knew her name because everyone depended on her. If a neighbor's roof started leaking, Mara arrived with her husband's old tools without anyone needing to ask. If someone's child became sick and they had no one to watch the other children, Mara welcomed them into her home. When old Thomas from the hill lost his wife and sat alone for 3 weeks, barely eating, it was Mara who came every morning with fresh bread and quietly sat beside him until he found the strength to speak again. People said Mara had a special gift. They believed she was born to help others. And Mara believed them too, because whenever she helped someone, she felt something close to peace, as if she was exactly where she was meant to be. She had a husband named Edric. He was a quiet man with gentle eyes and strong hands, a man who could repair almost anything made of wood or stone. But Edric could not always find steady work, and when life became difficult, he grew distant and silent. He stopped speaking much at dinner. He stopped asking about her day. He would sit near the fire and stare into it for long stretches, and Mara would bring him tea without being asked. He would take the cup quietly without saying much. When he finally found work again, he slowly returned to himself, warm again, grateful again, full of small jokes that made her smile. Mara told herself this was love. She believed this was what marriage looked like. You hold someone through the darkness, and eventually the light returns. And for many years she accepted this pattern as something natural. Her closest friend was a woman named Sela, who had known her since childhood. Sela had a quick mind and a loud laugh, and she had always been the one who pulled Mara out of her quiet world. But Sela also had a pattern. Whenever her life became complicated, whenever she fought with her husband or lost money or felt embarrassed by a mistake she had made, she came to Mara, not to ask how Mara was feeling, not to bring comfort or support. She came to release her problems, and Mara received everything. After every visit, Sela left feeling lighter, while Mara remained sitting alone, heavier than before. Still, Mara told herself this was friendship. She believed that real friends appear during difficult moments, and she felt proud to be that person. There was also a young man in the village named Durin. He had no father and a mother who worked far away most of the year. He was 17, restless, and often getting into small kinds of trouble. Not cruel trouble, but the kind that came from having too much energy and not knowing where to place it. Mara took him under her care. She gave him small jobs in her garden. She listened when he spoke about his dreams. She lent him money when he needed help. She always told herself she did not expect it back, but deep inside she quietly hoped he would prove himself worthy of her trust. For 2 years Doran came to her whenever he had nowhere else to go, and she gave and gave and gave. He once told her she was the closest thing to a mother he had ever known. Those words filled her heart so completely that she did not notice she had stopped sleeping well. She did not notice that her own small garden, the one she had planted only for herself, had slowly dried and been forgotten. Then, one autumn, everything changed. Mara became ill. It was not a serious illness, but it was serious enough that she needed to stay in bed for 2 weeks and could not help anyone. She sent word to her neighbors that she was unwell, and she waited. Edric took care of the house, but he moved awkwardly through the tasks. After 5 days, he began mentioning how the work was building up and how he was trying his best, but it was becoming a lot for him. He was not cruel. He simply made it clear in quiet ways that being the one who gives had always been her role, not his. Sela came once on the 3rd day. She brought a small cake and spent most of the visit talking about a new argument with her husband. Before leaving, she squeezed Mara's hand and said softly, "You will be better soon. You always are." Then she left. Doran did not come at all. Mara lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and something inside her became very quiet. Not exactly sadness, not exactly anger, just stillness, the way a lake becomes perfectly still just before the surface freezes. She thought about the roof she had helped repair for the neighbor who never once asked how she was feeling. She thought about old Thomas, who had eaten her bread every morning for a month, and who later built a fence between their houses and barely nodded when they passed each other. She thought about Sela and the endless hours she had spent listening, and how uncomfortable Sela became the rare times Mara tried to speak about her own pain. She thought about Doran's beautiful words, the closest thing to a mother, but a child who truly loves his mother comes to her when she is sick, and slowly she understood something, not with bitterness, but with the quiet clarity of someone who has finally stopped looking away from the truth. She had not always been loved. She had been useful. Those two things are not the same. Being loved means someone sees you even when you have nothing to give. Being useful means someone sees what you can do for them. You can be deeply useful to someone who never thinks about you once you stop being useful. And the painful truth is that if you fill every empty space in everyone else's life, they will never learn another way. They will never need to grow. And you will slowly grow smaller without even noticing it yourself. On the 14th day, Mara got out of bed. She walked to her small garden. She pulled away the dry weeds. She turned the soil with her own hands and planted fresh seeds, not for anyone else, for herself. That morning she decided something simple but enormous. She would still help people, but she would help differently. She would help when it felt true to her, not when she was afraid to say no. She would help from a place that was full, not from a place that was empty. The next time Sela came to a door with worry in her eyes and another story ready on her lips, Mara poured 2 cups of tea and sat down. But before Sela could begin speaking, Mara spoke first. She said quietly, "I want to share something that has been sitting in my heart." And she did, calmly, honestly, without anger. Sela was surprised. She did not know how to respond at first, but she listened. And something small but real passed between them, something that had never existed before. It was the beginning of a real friendship, where both women were present instead of only one. Edric noticed the change in Mara as well. She stopped filling his silences automatically. She stopped rushing to help before he could even ask. At first it made him uncomfortable. Then it made him curious. Slowly and somewhat awkwardly, he began asking small questions. "How are you feeling today? What would you like for supper? What are you thinking about?" They were small questions, but they were real. Months later, Doran returned, looking a little older and a little quieter. He stood at her door without a problem to solve for the first time. He said he had thought about her while she was sick and felt ashamed that he never came. Mara invited him inside. She did not say everything was fine. Instead, she said gently, "I noticed, and I want you to understand something. The people who care about you should show up, and you should show up for them too. You are old enough to understand that now." He nodded slowly. He understood. That conversation gave him something for silent. Giving never could. It gave him a standard to grow toward. Mara did not become cold. She did not close her door to people, but she learned to open it differently, with choice instead of obligation, with love instead of fear. And something surprising happened in the months that followed. The people who truly cared about her became easier to see. They had always been there, a few quiet people who never demanded much. But she had been too busy pouring herself into the loudest needs to notice them. Now she saw them, and now she had something left to give to them and to herself. If you have always been the one who gives, ask yourself one honest question. When you had nothing left to give, who stayed? The people who truly love you are not the ones who need you the most. They are the ones who want you, not just what you do for them. Being needed can feel very similar to love, especially if no one ever showed you what real love looks like. It feels warm. It feels important. But need is hungry. It never asks how you are feeling. It only asks what you have to offer. You are not a service. You are a person. And the moment you begin treating yourself that way, you will start to see clearly, without anger, who is really there. Be kind. Give when you can. Open your door. But do it from a place that belongs to you. Do it because you choose to, not because you are afraid of what might happen if you don't. That is not coldness. That is the beginning of real love. Love for others, and most importantly, love for yourself. Mara planted new seeds that morning, and her garden slowly grew back, stronger than before. If something in this story felt familiar, if you recognized a piece of yourself somewhere inside it, then this channel is meant for you. Every story shared here is like a seed, and if you press like, leave a comment, share this with someone who may need to hear it, or subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. You are helping this garden grow. You are helping someone else find the words they never had before. And that is not a small thing. That is exactly what real love looks like. We will see you in the next story.